Authors have a variety of options available to them today. When an author is thinking about publishing their book, most of them think about the books they've read recently, probably by best-selling authors, and so they're thinking more of a traditional publisher is the type of publishing that comes to mind first. And of course, that includes the big advance and the royalties that authors think about. Well, those royalties and advances aren't that big anymore. Not that they ever really were, but traditional publishing tends to be what an author is thinking about. And that's where they contract with the publisher, and the publisher basically takes the manuscript and runs with it. They help the author create a great book, provide editorial assistance, really deep editorial assistance, and then they create a great book, designing the book, doing all the things that are involved, and then they help with the marketing, the sales, distribution, everything. And that's really, in a dream world, that's what I would recommend for every author out there. That would be what I would want. But in reality, going down that path can be very, very difficult. I think that's a great place to start. Try to get an agent and try to work with that agent to pitch a book to a traditional publisher. But if that doesn't work out, then thankfully, we do have other options now. And the vast majority of books published these days are published by other options other than traditional publishing. Probably the next step, kind of on a spectrum from traditional publishing down to at the other end of the spectrum, would be where an author is doing it all themselves. Of course, they've written the book, but they're going to edit the book, design the book, go to all that trouble to work with a page design program to get it designed properly. They have to do the cover design themselves and do all the marketing, the distribution, the sales themselves. That's kind of way at the other end of the spectrum, and very few authors go down that path. It's just so very, very difficult. But in between, there's a 3 or 4 different steps along the way that might be better options. One step away from being traditionally published is working with a hybrid publisher, which is, it's really the definition that is pretty common is a traditional publisher that opens up an imprint to offer self-publishing services to aspiring authors. And that's become much more common over the last 10 years. And it is a good solution for authors that need kind of the best of both worlds. They need to have the sales and distribution and marketing, perhaps some support along those areas that may not be available if they did it themselves. But they're not able to get a traditional contract, not able to secure the full traditional services, so they're kind of in between, and that's one step away from traditional publishing. Going a little bit further away, you have what might be called assisted self-publishing, which is working with companies that aren't necessarily affiliated or don't have the traditional publishing arm also, but they still can provide a lot of great services as far as editorial and design and distribution and those type of things. And then you can get a little bit further away yet, more towards the DIY, the do-it-yourself, is where an author would perhaps contract themselves, go to the trouble of trying to figure out, okay, who's a good local editor I could work with, a good local designer I could work with, a good local marketing person I could work with. So you can see where as you get further and further away from traditional publishing, there's more and more work for the author. And I think when it comes down to it, the author has to figure out, what are they really good at? What do they want to spend their time doing? What do they enjoy? Life is short. Do we really want to try to figure out how to do all these different things? Some authors get a kick out of learning all those different things and doing it themselves, and that's great. But a lot of authors, they just really want to focus on the writing and writing a great book, and then working with others that can help turn that book into a reality in a high quality way. And so it's behooves the author to figure out, okay, what do I really want? What are my goals? What am I really trying to accomplish here? And then pick the publishing model that really complements that and allows that dream to come to fruition.